special. New on NFL Live today, awaiting a new deal, Trey Hendrickson says he thinks the Sharks are circling in Cincinnati right now.
I'm a Floridian, so there's unprovoked shark attacks and there's provoked shark attacks. This is not something where I'm just twiddling my thumbs thinking, oh, how can I get the next one up? So,
Is there any way in your mind, Trey, that you would play this year on your current contract?
No.
Peter, this has really escalated if we're talking about Sharks. What do you make of the way Trey Hendrickson feels about all of this?
Well, there's blood in the water from one side, but it seems like the Bengals aren't budging. I find this actually refreshing in a way. A lot of times we go through the agents and the players aren't speaking publicly, but like Trey Hendrickson is a 30-year-old man who has signed multiple deals and is looking to get paid and is basically very measured and came in and said, look, I met my wife here. She was a nurse at the VA right down the street. Like, my kids were born here. I want to play here. It's not fair based on market value what I'm making right now. So I would like to see a new deal, and the Bengals aren't budging. The Bengals came into this offseason, and as we progress more and more into the offseason, they had two priorities. Pay Jamar Chase and pay T. Higgins. They did that. When the rubber hits the road, I don't know what else to say, but like this, to him to come to OTAs, not practice, dress like he's about to go play 18 on a nice course afterwards, and just talk directly to reporters in a very measured way is refreshing because you get to hear his side. The one distressing thing about this is that there were some text exchanges with Zach Taylor that he revealed that set him back and he was not happy with. You hate to see it get ugly, but like, guys, in the business world, this stuff happens, and I hate to say it, he is a great player, but when you see that 3 before someone's age, teams aren't lining up to pay you, and in this case, the Bengals were looking to hire and sign and give a big extension to their 2 young wide receivers, and they might not have been looking to pay this guy before his contract is up.
And that's part of the frustration here, Peter, and I think that's one of the reasons that Trey Hendrickson is so upset right now. And for him to get to this point in mid-May, where he is speaking up and speaking out and wondering what's going on. That tells you the level of frustration that he's feeling and how serious he must be about his threat today not to play this upcoming season on his existing contract, which is scheduled to pay him $15.8 million. He has watched other pass rushers like Max Crosby in Las Vegas, like Myles Garrett in Cleveland, get paid upwards of $35-40 million a year, which is way more than double, almost triple what he's scheduled to be making this year. And this comes after a year in which the Bengals told Trey Hendrickson to be on his best behavior, to produce, and everything would be taken care of. And Trey Hendrickson doesn't feel like it's getting taken care of, and he feels like he's getting the silent treatment, and he's done playing the good soldier, so he's speaking up and out. And this isn't going to go away until the contract gets done. So something has to give here, and we'll see how long this goes on in Cincinnati.
He's been a good soldier. We just had the list of guys that have had back-to-back 17-sack seasons. Like, it's a short list with Hall of Famers on it. Like, just the reality. And then, look, he's had double-digit sacks, over 13 sacks in 4 of the last 5 years. Like, and then he's been a good teammate. Like, how he's handled his business, how he's been patient to get the last year of a deal when some of those guys you mentioned, Adam, weren't even in the very last year of their deal. So I think when you just look at that, Trey Hendrickson feels like he's, the team has not been loyal, upheld their end of the bargain. And quite frankly, I would agree when you look at it.
Cincinnati, not the only AFC North team with questions still to answer. Check this. Tim, that all sounds like it's in a great place. What do you make of Trey Hendrickson and his current contract dispute with the Cincinnati Bengals?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of key things to what Trey Hendrickson said there. Like, he obviously, sounds like somebody that's, feels like it's gotten personal. He said as much, and he feels, I think, hurt by how the Bengals have handled this. He sounds like somebody that knows what he's kind of laid on the line for the organization. For some context, he's got 35 sacks in the last 2 years. Like, you could argue that he's been as good as any pass rusher in the NFL over that stretch. He's due to make $15 million. to be honest, like guys at his position, at his age, probably should be making more than $30 million a year. And so, look, the idea that he wants to, talk and try to work out a long-term deal, but he's feeling like there's not even a, good communication from the organization, I think has led him to the point where he's saying, like, wait a second, like, you know who I am. You know what kind of teammate I've been. You know what kind of member of this organization that I've been. And this is how we're going to communicate about me potentially getting a contract extension. So, look, I understand it. I actually, sympathize with him quite a bit because if you look at the Bengals, especially guys on the defensive side of the ball that probably deserve to be rewarded, Trey Hendrickson would be at the very front of the line.
Sure, and look, they've had conversations throughout the offseason. They did get extensions done with their star wide receivers, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and obviously I think Trey Hendrickson felt like he would be next. They haven't been able to make it work. He's going to be 31 years old at some point this season, and that may be part of the holdup, but nonetheless, things do not seem to be in a great place between Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals. Now, back in February, Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow talked about the contract situations that were coming up this offseason in Cincinnati, and he had some suggestions on how they could make everybody happy. Here's what Burrow said to Barstool Sports at the time, quote, "You could convert some of the money into a signing bonus, which will lower the cap hit. You can push some of the money to the back end of the contract. That lowers the cap hit. And then when you get to the back end of the contract, you can restructure it and convert it to a signing bonus. The Eagles are paying everybody. That seems like the way, whatever they're doing." So it all sounds simple. There's no doubt about it. When the Bengals have spoken publicly this offseason, they've talked about how they do have the cap space to extend all these guys, Tim. But what do you make of the Burrow side of all this? I'm sure he's happy they got Higgins and Chase done, but he would like Hendrickson there as well.
Yeah, I think this is one of these scenarios where when you're the star player and you're the guy that's making the most money of anybody on the roster, look, your posture and position needs to be exactly what Joe Burrow is saying there, which is very player and teammate friendly. And look, oh, hey, these other teams are doing it, and there's got to be a way to work it out, and I'm willing to be, flexible with how I'm getting paid. Like, that's what you say. Whether it's true or not, like, that's what you say. And then, ultimately, it's not Joe Burrow's job to be, the salary cap guy. It's the Cincinnati Bengals' job to figure out how to negotiate good deals with their star players, retain their good players, to draft players that can play on rookie contracts. And then it's Joe Burrow's job to try to be as good as Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or anybody that he's going to face in his conference. So I think it's one of these things where, like, we can put a lot of stock into what Burrow is saying. At the same time, he's always going to be player friendly, and ultimately the team has to decide that they're willing to reward their star players and structure them to deals that make sense. You mentioned Trey Hendrickson's age. Look, yeah, he will turn 31. He's got 35 sacks the last 2 seasons. That is hard to replace. That is really hard to replace. And so I think when you look at it from Cincy's perspective, yeah, it's great to have 2-star wide receivers, but be careful because you might lose your best edge rusher.
As we mentioned earlier, welcome in now Adam Schefter. Adam, what more can you tell us on this whole situation, where things stand with the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson?
It's gotten personal now, Dan, between the Cincinnati Bengals and Trey Hendrickson. And for Trey Hendrickson to come out and say what he has said the last 2 days over the phone with me yesterday, in press conference settings today, that tells you how upset, bothered, and frustrated he is at the pace of these negotiations. We go back